Hey guys, so for this video I will be doing a movie review of When Evil Lurks. I planned on seeing this movie because I thought I liked the poster, and I was hesitant to see it because it's about essentially a town who learns that there is an evil that's going to be born among them, and so they kind of have to, I guess, stop it. And just from the description, it felt like it was going to be kind of like a Village of the Damned kind of thing, where we get the community strife, turning on each other because they think there's evil among them, which I wouldn't say is necessarily my favorite horror movie, but I thought, oh well. And of course it was in Spanish and with English subtitles, and I am learning Spanish, so I was curious to see how well I would do. Spoiler, not too well. I did notice like nouns like perro, which is dog, and stuff like that, but for the most part they were speaking so fast that I couldn't understand. My brain eventually just shut down. It rejected any more attempts to try to determine to interpret. So I just relied on the subtitles. Even then, when they got into like the really big fight scenes, it was still hard because those subtitles went so fast because they were speaking so fast. But for the most part, it was pretty fun. But the movie itself, I will say that this was one of the most unsettling movies I've seen this year. Let's just go into the movie, and I'll go through kind of the plot, and then at the end I'll get a little bit more into my thoughts. So the movie starts out with two brothers. Their names are Pedro and Jamie, and they investigate gunshots that they heard in the woods the night before, and they find the body, or part of the body, of a man, and there's an instrument next to him. Kind of don't know what it is. They follow the trail back to a house where a woman is living with her two sons. One of the sons has been possessed. He's called a rotten, and he's essentially turned into this grotesque, bloated thing, he's essentially the host of an unborn demon that is awaiting physical birth. And so he's pretty much, he's just like I said, bloated, and looks like he's rotting from the inside out. And so they want to kill him, but the woman begs them not to because they have to wait until the cleaner comes so that they could, I guess for lack of a better word, exorcise the demon before, because otherwise they'll just release it, I guess, if they just straight up kill him. But the thing is, the cleaner was the guy in the woods, so someone got to him first and killed him so that he couldn't come and do this exorcism. And so they kind of don't know what to do, so they end up going to the guy who actually owns the land back, because I guess they're just renting out land. His name is what was his name? Riz, who thinks about also killing the man, but he decides instead to drive the rotten somewhere else so that it's no longer his problem. And so Rez's dumbass nearly hits a kid because he's too stupid not to pay attention to the road. And they don't realize that the rotten has either fallen out or escaped. I can't figure out which one it was supposed to be. About 20 minutes back. And so they end up, I don't think they even attempt to go back to try to find it. They just leave it. And so he eventually, Riz gets home, all seems good, and then the next morning they discover that one of the goats has been possessed, which I don't know how they realized that it was possessed, other than it wasn't scared of them, it was looking straight at them. I guess that's how they knew. But yeah, he gets a shotgun and he's going to shoot it, but his pregnant wife begs him not to. And it does look like that he hesitates for a moment, thinks twice about killing it, but then I think the goat's kind of like bleach or something like that, and he pulls the trigger, and then his wife, she had grabbed an axe from the stump and bashes him in the head and kills him. Then she starts whacking herself in the face with the axe until she finally dies. I wasn't sure if that was supposed to imply that she was just, I guess, trying to save them by killing them, or if she was supposed to be possessed. Because once he killed the goat, it immediately leaped to her, and so she kills him and herself. I don't know. It wasn't exactly clear. But yeah, the brother of the rotten shows up and tells the brothers that his mother has disappeared, and asks him if it's alright if he stays with them. And of course, Jamie he does not want him to stay there, but Pedro allows him to stay in the barn until morning. And the boy warns them to leave the lights off because it draws demons, but of course they don't listen. And then, so Jamie and Pedro decide to leave town. And Jamie goes to get their mom, while Pedro goes to get his children, who is living with his ex-wife and her new husband. Then we get the scene, like, it feels like forever, where they're just screaming at each other the entire time. He won't fucking tell them that there's, like, this possessed thing there, and that he's trying to, it threatens them. And even if you try to use the logic that, well, he might sound crazy to his ex, she thinks that he's just, he's trying to just take their children. So it honestly wouldn't be much different, to be honest. It was just so irritating, I guess. But yeah, they don't notice that the dog has licked Pedro's clothes, which is covered in demon goo. And then they don't notice when said dog grabs the girl by the head and, well, kills her, and then goes running off with her body. That's when they decide, or that's when they realize that bad shit's happened. And so the Pedro and the husband goes after the dog. Of course, Pedro tells the husband, hey, don't fucking shoot the damn dog. And of course, what does this dumb shit do? He goes and fucking shoots the dog. And so Pedro, realizing shit's gonna get bad, he decides to go back to his house, or his ex's house, grab the kids. One of them is severely autistic, and so he struggles whenever his father touches him, and his father tries calming him down, but it does take like 5 minutes for him to finally get the kids to leave. During that time, the girl has reappeared without a scratch on her, which doesn't seem to, raise any red flags, because I guess the mother didn't see the dog just fucking dragging her off. She just accepts that, the kid pops up alright. Of course, the kid's creepy as fuck, and he, is whispering in the mom's ear that her dad is gonna kill her. So the dad is gonna kill the mom. And at first I thought she was trying to kind of turn her against, her ex-husband, but then her current husband comes driving up and runs into her, so so he's the one who actually kills her. And so he leaves, Pedro leaves, and he looked into the mirror and the girl is like dancing while the mom is dead. And so, yeah, so while they're driving, the mom doesn't, their mom, Pedro and Jamie's mom, grandma to the kids, doesn't believe that there's a rotten in the countryside, which they also mention later, something about one of the characters found a rotten in the city. I'm not sure if this is supposed to be kind of a caution tale about, like, urban society or something like that. But yeah, it just felt very weird that they kind of would specify the countryside. So yeah, she gives the kids the lowdown on possessed people and the rotten, and gives them the 5 rules that you must follow in which to not get possessed, I guess, not encounter rotten. One of which was not to say the names of these demons. And of course, they don't see their son, who is autistic. He's sitting there next to them, just chanting off all these demon names. And so, you kind of know what's going to happen. So, Jamie takes them to this woman. Her name is Myrta. She was a former cleaner, and Jamie wants to try to figure out what to do about the rotten. He thinks that she'll be able to help him. She agrees to let them stay for the night, but she also warns Jamie that the autistic son is showing signs of demon possession. But Jamie, of course, ignores her, which the thing that really made me confused about this woman, her name's Myrta, and she's like a neck cleaner, and her husband like disappeared one day, and she assumed he was dead, I guess, and so she just came out to live here. She was either stupid or suicidal, because she seemed to have a very chill reaction to everything that was happening. Especially like saying that the autistic son was showing signs of demon possession. When Jamie brushes it off, she doesn't seem too bothered by it. It just felt weird to me. But yeah, the corpse of Pedro's wife ends up popping up, and she kidnaps the youngest son, jumps out the window, which, just the way she jumped, I'm assuming that the kid was dead after that. But Myrta tells Jamie to go after her, while her and Pedro go to look for the rotten, so that they can just end it all. So Jamie is driving down the road. He finally finds a corpse. He's walking down the road, and as he's driving past, you see that she's eating the kid. Yeah, it was very much a startling scene. But yeah, in a fit of rage, Jamie runs into the corpse of the ex-wife and crushes her against a tree. The grandmother is with the autistic son when she learns that he can speak and walk without any problem. So obviously he's possessed. You can see that she's terrified. And I think, I have to rewatch it, but I think he mentions something about being hungry, which is, obviously ominous for later. So Pedro and Myrta, they end up at a schoolhouse, which is filled with possessed children, because of course you can't have a horror movie without possessed kids. They try to mislead the two of them so that they don't find the rotten, because they want the demon to be born. They find the rotten though. He's under a stage of the auditorium with all the other teachers who have been killed, and he keeps trying to get it out of the hole, but the rotten is just so big and so heavy that he can't. And so one of the kids tells him that there is an axe, that he can go get the axe and it will help him. And of course this dumb shit decides to fucking listen to him. And of course, he gets locked out of the auditorium just in time for the kids to kill Murta and, destroy the equipment that they were going to use to destroy the demon. And of course, once again, Pedro's dumbass decided, hey, I'm going to kill this thing. But of course, it's too late to stop the demon being born, and, the demon pops up. And he essentially looks like a kid, like a preteen, and he appears like, fully grown, so that's kind of made me realize that I think that's why the man was so grotesque, because that demon was literally like child size inside the man's body, so kind of creepy again. But yeah, the demon ends up sparing Pedro and then walks off into the sunset with the kids. The brother ends up at Murta's, and he finds the autistic son and takes him into their house and gives him some ice cream. But in the process of eating the ice cream, the son starts choking, and so he starts trying to clear his throat, and he pulls out some bloody hair from his mother. So, and then we see the kind of the kid's eyes shift. So it's obvious that he's been possessed, and the demon was trying to fake being autistic, I guess. The other brother has also, Jamie has come back, and because they both end up at their house, and he runs into the brother of the rotten, the boy from at the very beginning, and he admits that he was the one that had killed the cleaner and eaten him, and that he had also eaten his mother, and hinted at the autistic son, the same thing happening to their mother. And so that's when they both kind of come out of the buildings and kind of meet, and they start grieving together, and that was about it. That was the end. So I'm not sure what exactly, if there was supposed to be a moral story, what it was, but yeah. So this turned out to be co-produced by Shudder, which surprised me, because it's been Shudder's a little known horror company, so I was surprised when they had a movie in theaters, and it's their first Spanish-speaking film. So, for it being their first, and being co-produced by Shudder, I think it was pretty good. The reception for the movie, it got 97% from 37 critics' reviews. The consensus read, a hard-hitting horror film whose surface-level frights are just as engaging as its thematic concerns. An Evil Lurks marks a viscerally unsettling addition to the possession horror canon. So I will agree with that. I think because I just watched Nun 2, watching this, it was another possession movie, so I wasn't having much expectations, but this was a lot creepier, I think. Like I said before, it was unsettling. The Rotten was more grotesque than the Deadites from the Evil Dead, so I was a lot more creeped out by the Rotten. The Rotten, just the way that some of the things it did was kind of unsettling. So, like I said, they were, they had put in the Rotten in the hole in the stage to kind of hide him. But then the other two, they're on, they're on the floor, setting up the equipment, I guess. And, they look over, and the Rotten is setting up, and you can just see the top of his head. You can see his eyes, and it's talking to them, and it was just so fucking creepy. Didn't help that I was the only one in that movie theater. because I guess nobody else wanted to see it at that time, and oh my god, it was just creepy. This possession movie actually felt like it takes itself seriously, unlike say Evil Dead, an Evil Dead movie where it felt more like tongue-in-cheek, kind of dark humor, I guess. This one actually felt very much like it was taking itself seriously, and yeah, it just felt very unnerving. It didn't feel like it held back like The Nun 2 did, because we get The Nun 2, Valak possesses a man, and he at most kills people who get in his way, whereas Possessed kind of just possesses anybody. And, you know, we get, kids dying in this movie. One of the sons gets eaten, the other son eats his grandmother, and it really felt like they didn't hold anything back in this movie. And obviously it was very, very bloody. One of the bloodiest movies I've seen this, except for like the Hatchet series. I watched the entire series this year, and my god, it probably has more fucking buckets of blood than, say, Saw does, to be honest. But yeah, that one, this felt more like a bloody, like a scary bloody, if that makes sense. It doesn't feel like cartoonishly, ridiculous, like the Hatchet series did, where they're just trying to make the most ridiculous kills as possible. This actually felt very much real, I guess, if that makes sense. It kind of drew me into the story. The acting, of course, was fine, and I didn't mind the story overall, but there were some things that were confusing for me in the movie, and it made me want another watch. Well, we'll solve that, but the possession, the demon hasn't been born yet, but it keeps possessing people, so does it have to be in the proximity of the rotten? Do people have to be in the proximity of the rotten, to be possessed? Or does it just jump from person to person, so it doesn't matter how far away you are from the rotten, as long as it's someone who was close to it, then it's, you can be possessed? Was it like totally possessing people? Or is it more like they just kind of brought out the worst in people? I don't know. That was kind of confusing. And of course, the daughter is mauled by the dog, but appears without scratch. But the mother looks like she's actually been hit by a car. So there was also that. Does the demon, is it able to like heal people whenever it wants? And it just decided not to do it with the mom? I don't know. It's kind of confusing. Of course, some of the characters were stupid. Jamie, of course it's mostly the brothers, to be honest. Jamie ignored what the woman said about the autistic son, despite him literally going to her for help. So why even come to her for help if you're just going to ignore her when she tells you something? And of course, at the very end, they get the kid, the autistic son, and go home. But they never mention anything about the mother. So did they think the mother just up and left? Did they think she was dead anyways and just didn't think much of it? Because, that's when, you kind of discover that the autistic son ate the mother. But still, they didn't seem too bothered by the fact that she just suddenly disappeared. But yeah, all of this, it could be because I missed something during the movie. Like I said, they were speaking in Spanish. I don't know Spanish entirely yet. And so I had to rely on the reading. And so they were talking fast. And so the subtitles were going fast. And because I'm in theater, I can't pause it to process it. So I could miss something in the movie that could be explained later on. But still, I do think it was a relatively good movie. I guess maybe my expectations, I didn't have any, so because I was pleasantly surprised it came off better. But anyways, if you want a good scary movie, I would definitely recommend this. Not necessarily like, this isn't really like loud noises and screaming like the entire movie. This is more like a subtle kind of terror. So, essentially what the movie says, when terror lurks, or when evil lurks, sorry. But yeah, so that was my review of When Evil Lurks. So if you did like this review, give it a like, subscribe to get notifications for all the videos I'll be doing. You guys have a nice night. Stay safe out there, and talk to you later.